When do you start reaching out to actual authors and getting them involved with your students?
That it was a while. It really wasn't until I became a librarian. And even then, I mean, you got to think that back in the 90s, we weren't, the internet wasn't operating the way, certainly the way we know it today. And so, everything was like a very static web page, you didn't have interactive kind of stuff. So, once I became a librarian, I started learning all kinds of stuff, that, you have the opportunities to program. I certainly, I made sure my kids knew of authors, but I certainly wasn't engaging with them. And it wasn't until I moved into the library and realized, oh, like there's an opportunity maybe for me to actually reach out to an author by their email or however, their web page or website says, and see if I could maybe get them to come visit my school. And once I did it, I was like, it was so impactful, and my kids were so crazy about it. I thought I have to do this again and again and again. And so in the years that I was a school librarian, I had at my last school where I spent most of the time as a librarian, I ended up having 54 authors at that school, which is a crazy number of authors. And there were other things. I mean, that doesn't just happen kind of accidentally. There were definitely some other things going on. I was, doing my doctoral work. I was out presenting the things that I was passionate about at conferences. I was meeting publishers. I was meeting authors, and those things kind of all worked together to provide me opportunities that allowed for me to connect with authors and bring them to my school. But I saw what a huge difference that made to my kids. So I love that. And of course I wanted to do more of it.
Made a difference because they could see that the authors of the stories they loved were real, or because they knew that maybe they themselves could be an author?
All of those things. Answer C. Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, like there's something so powerful about for a kid getting to see that person live. And I think kids today have, more of an advantage because of the tools that are out there, because of social media, being able to see authors who choose to engage that way. It's also a lot for an author, I will say. There's a lot more, I think, pressure on the author to be engaged in all the ways. But, kids can, there's nothing like having somebody whose stories matter to them standing in front of them and talking about their work and their lives, and also encouraging them, telling them, hey, like you can do this. And that, with Hope Wins, that's one of the things that one of the things that's happened somewhat organically that I can't completely take credit for. Teachers have shown me the way in this, is that, my intention with my two Hope books was to share stories of hope with young people, really with all people, because I think that these books are books that really speak to all people. But I wanted stories for kids that I cared about and all kids. But I think the thing that has come out of it that I've seen educators do is that they've used these stories to really help show kids that, hey, your story matters too. Like there's no one way to tell your story. And that's kind of the beauty of an anthology like this, is that they get to hear all these different voices. They see the different, I mean, if you're looking at it from a craft perspective, you get to see that there's no one way to tell your story, right? Each of these writers, even though they are published authors and many of them very successful, they're all doing it a little differently, and they're all right. There's no wrong way to do it. So hopefully what young people take out of it is that like they can apply that and realize number one, their story matters. Even if they think like, I don't have a story, of course they have a story. We all have a story. So they can see that, and then they can see like, I don't have to do it one way. It doesn't have to look like this. I can make it the way I want it to be. And so again, I hadn't really thought about the books necessarily being from a teachable opportunity, but teachers have done that with them. And I wouldn't have known that had they not shared that with me. And I had not seen some amazing stuff that teachers are doing with Hope Nation first, and even now with Hope Wins. And that really, obviously makes my heart really happy to see them connect these books that way.